Hello everyone, my name is Jacob, and today we will be playing more Dragon Age Inquisition. Well, we kind of will. Today we are going to be doing sort of like a catch-up on lore episode. I'm going to do like 6.5 or something like that, because I gotta go look at the Codex, and I was inspired to do this thanks to two great people in the comments, OK La Revuse, I'm sorry if I butchered your name, buddy, and Crimson Disaster. Thank you both so much for commenting and letting me know a lot of the stuff I didn't know, but I would like to go over some of that stuff with you now. So, let's get right to it. Let's go to characters first. Ooh, so we don't have a lot of people. Cassandra Pentagast, Lord Seeker Lucius, I'm fully aware of the intent behind your predecessor's declaration. Lord Seeker Lambert pried the Templars away from the Chantry control and led them into an assault upon all mages. For reasons you both find justified. I, however, and I'm certain when the Seekers of Truth went from guarding against injustice to perpetrating it. If you truly believe that is not the case, I suggest you look out a window at the chaos this war has caused, and act yourself if Thedas will recover, even if you are victorious. I remain Divine Justina's right hand, and will stay there even if you brand me as a traitor. I am sorry, but there is too much at stake to swerve from the path we willingly followed at the Chantry's formation. From a letter by Seeker Cassandra Pentagast to Lord Seeker Lucius Corrin. Divine Justinia V, formerly the revered Mother Dorothy of Orlaeus, Divine Justinia V rose to power after the death of Divine Beatrix III in the year 934 of the Dragon Age. Little is known of Dorothea's background before she joined the Chantry as an initiate, but she proved to be a liberal and daring thinker, willing to take a former bard and lay sister Leliana as a close advisor. A headstrong devotion to her own agenda and rumored support of the Mage Rebellion earned her no small dislike from the powerful priests long used to controlling access to the Divine. In the year 940 of the Dragon Age, Divine Justinia called a summit intending to negotiate a truce between the Mage Rebellion and the Templars splintered from the Chantry. The Divine Conclave was held at the Temple of Sacred Ashes, the most holy place in Thedas. Before a resolution could be reached, a cataclysmic explosion destroyed the Conclave, consumed the temple, rent the sky, and shattered the world's hope for peace. Divine Justinia V perished in the Temple of Sacred Ashes. The Chantry flounders leaderless in the wake of her death, and its fate grows increasingly uncertain. If the order is not restored to Thedas, Justinia V might be remembered as the Chantry's final divine. So, we learned that it's the year 940. High Chancellor Roderick. There are some who claim men have no place in the Chantry beyond the lowest rank of scholarly brothers and those who take their place among the Templars. So it looks like women have the most power in this religion. I didn't know that, so good. It is not true. This is an organization spanning 7 nations, from the smallest village, Chantry, to the Grand Cathedral in Val Royeaux. It takes more than sermons to keep it alive. There is an invisible army at work, ensuring meals are delivered, repairs are made, and faithful attended to, and much of it done by Chantry brothers like myself. The position of High Chancellor places a man beside the Most Holy. I control who is permitted audience, handle her correspondence, deliver her word to Thedas, and serve as her advisor on matters which may be mundane but cannot be disregarded. If I have influence, let it be said it is something I use sparingly, if at all. So let's scroll down a little bit. This is a task which I devote myself with solemnity, and my fellows bear a burden so that others are free to guide the spirits of Thedas unencumbered. Excerpt from a letter by High Chancellor Roderick. Ooh, who's this? Levelin of Dalish. The Dalish are elves who refuse to live in human cities, where their people are exploited, having few rights. They choose to X out an independent existence in the forest, attempting to keep the last remnants of their ancient culture alive. Gilly is from Clan Levelar, a group of Dalish who migrate around perpetually feuding free marches. Gilly's people travel along the borders of each city-state's territory, where free march rulers will be less inclined to attack them for fear of accidentally provoking neighboring cities. Gilly became a hunter at a young age, growing into a respected protector and provider. The recent Mage Rebellions disturbed her clan's way of life as the fighting spilled out into the countryside. Clan Levelin's leader, Keeper Deshana Istimaethroiel Levelin chose Gilly to spy on the meeting at the Temple of Sacred Ashes between the Divine and the feuding factions so she could bring back news of the outcome. After the explosion that killed the Divine, Gilly was the only survivor. Rumors that the mysterious mark on her hand is a sign of the Maker's favor were spread by those who claim they saw the divine prophet Andraste herself lead Levelin out of the Fade. Solus. Cassandra, I understand our first order of business must be to investigate this bizarre breach in the sky and protect people from the demons descending. While my search continues, I wish to draw your attention to a new arrival at our camp, an elven apostate calling himself Solas. Solas entered the camp voluntarily, surrendering his staff to the Chantry forces without protest. He is not Dalish and says he has never been part of the Circle, claiming instead to have studied magic peacefully, on his own, particularly magic tied to the Fade. While I suspect you will be reluctant to accept the help of an apostate, Solas did come to us freely. Witness saw him in a nearby village at the time of the blast, so he was likely not responsible for what happened at the Conclave. However, he has described the events of the breach in enough detail to convince me that he knows more about the Fade than anyone else present. Solas has requested permission to study the lone survivor in one of the smaller rifts in hope of finding a way to seal the breach. He has correctly guessed that it is growing and believes it will destroy the entire world unless we find a way to stop it. Unless you object, I will allow him his studies under proper observation, of course. Liliana. And the last character, Varric Tethrus. There is no power in stories. That's all history is. Oh, there's power in story. That's all history is. The best tale's the one that lasts. Might as well be mine. Varric Tethrus of the Dwarven Merchants Guild of Kirkwall is famous or infamous for two things, his books and his association with the Champion of Kirkwall. After the Templars and Circles broke away from the Chantry, Divine Justiana V sent her agents to Kirkwall, where the roots of the war began, in search of answers. The Champion had long since disappeared, but Varric had written a book on his friend's involvement in the destruction of the Kirkwall Chantry, and the left and right hands of the Divine located him with surprising ease. They captured and interrogated him, then brought him to the Conclave to give his testimony to the Divine in person, but fate decreed that he would never meet her. Alright, so that's characters. I don't think we need to go over crafting materials or creatures groups. This is what I'm interested in. Chantry hierarchy. The Divine is the titular head of the Chantry, although since the schism split of the Imperial Chantry split into its own faction, there are now in fact two Divines at any one time. One Divine, informally called the White Divine, is a woman housed in the Grand Cathedral in Valrayo. The other, known as the Black Divine, is a man housed in the Argent Spire in the Rathos. Maybe that's where those crows went. If you watched last episode, there was two crows that went somewhere. Neither Divine recognizes the existence of the other, and the informal names are considered sacrilegious. No matter the gender, a Divine addressed as Most Holy or Your Perfection. Beneath the rank of the Divine is the Grand Cleric. Each Grand Cleric presides over numerous chantries and represents the highest religious authority for their region. They travel to Valrayo when the College of Clerics convenes, but otherwise remain where they are assigned. All clerics are addressed as Your Grace. Beneath the Grand Cleric is the Mother, or, in the Imperial Chantry, the Father. If a mother is in charge of a particular chantry, Revered is appended to her title. There are priests responsible for administrating the spiritual well-being of their flock. A mother or revered mother is addressed as Your Reverence. Brothers and sisters form the rank and file of the chantry and consist of three main groups: affirmed, initiates, and clerics. Affirmed are the lay brethren of the chantry, those regular folk who have turned to the chantry for succor. Often those are people who have led a difficult or irregular life, have been chosen to go into seclusion, or even orphans and similar unfortunates who are raised into the chantry life. The affirmed take care of the chantry and are in turn afforded a life of quiet contemplation, no questions asked. Only those folk who take vows become initiates. These are men and women in training, whether in academic knowledges or the martial skills of the warrior. All initiates receive an academic education, although only those who seek to become Templars learn how to fight in addition. Clerics are the true academics of the chantry, those men and women who have dedicated themselves to the pursuit of knowledge. They are often found in the chantry archives, sages presiding over libraries of books and arcane knowledge. The most senior of these clerics, placed in charge of such archives, are given the title Elder, although such a rank is still beneath that of Mother. All other brothers and sisters are addressed as simply other than their title, before that their names, such as Brother Gentivi, from a guide for ambassadors to Rivian. So we learned about how that's set up. Founding the chantry. Cordulus Dracon, king of the city-state of Orlais, was a man of uncommon ambition. In the year -15 ancient, -15 ancient, I don't know, that's a weird year system, the young king began construction of a great temple dedicated to the Maker, and dedicated that by its completion he would not only have to unite the warring city-states of the south, he would have brought Andrastian belief to the world. In -ancient 3, In -3 ancient, the temple was completed. There, in its heart, Dracan knelt before the eternal flame of Andraste and was crowned ruler of the Empire of Orlais. His first asked his emperor to declare the chantry as the established Andrastan religion of the empire. It took 3 years and several hundred votes before Olay of Montesamard was elected to lead the new chantry. Upon her coronation as divine, she took the name Justinia in honor of the disciple who restored Andraste's songs. In that moment, the ancient era ended and the divine age began. From the Freyland Folklore and History by Sister Petrivine. So we already know what the Dalish elves are. We don't really need to read that. Okay? History. Yeah, history. We need to read this. A chant for the departed. So that's like our death chant. Andraste, bride of the Maker. There was once a tiny fishing village on the waking sea that was set upon by the Tevinter Imperium, which enslaved the villages to be sold in the markets of Minthraus, leaving behind only the old and the infirm. One of the captives was the child Andraste. She was raised in slavery in a foreign land. She escaped and then made her long and treacherous journey back to her homeland alone. She rose from nothing to be the wife of an Almari warlord. Each day she sang to the gods, asking them to help her people who remained slaves in Tevinter. The false gods of the mountains and the winds did not answer her, but the true God did. The Maker spoke. He showed her all the works of his hands, the Fade, the world, and all the creation therein. He showed her how men had forgotten him, lavishing devotion to mute idols and demons, and how he had left them to their fate. But her voice had reached him, and had so captivated him that he offered her a chance at his side, that she might rule all creation. But Andraste would not forsake her people. She begged the Maker to return, to save his children from the cruelty of the Imperium. Reluctantly, the Maker agreed to give man another chance. Andraste went back to her husband, Mefereth, and told him all that the Maker had revealed to her. Together they rallied the Almari and marched forth upon the mage lords of the Imperium, and the Maker was with them. The Maker's sword was creation itself, fire and flood, famine and earthquake. Everywhere they went, Andraste sang to the people of the Maker, and they heard her. The ranks of Andraste's followers grew until they were a vast tide washing over the Imperium. And when the Mefereth saw that the people loved Andraste and not him, a worm grew within his heart, gnawing upon it. At last the armies of Andraste and Merath stood before the very gates of Minrathus, but Andraste was not with them, for Mefereth had schemed in secret to hand Andraste over to Tevinter. For this the Archon would give Mefereth all the lands to the south of the Waking Sea. And so, before all the armies of Almari and the Tevinter, Andraste was tied to a stake and burned, while her earthly husband turned his arms aside and did nothing, for his heart had been devoured. But as he watched the pyre, the Archon softened. He took pity on Andraste and drew his sword and granted her the mercy of a quick death. The Maker wept for his beloved, cursed Mefereth, and cursed mankind for their betrayal, and turned once again from creation, taking only Andraste with him, and Our Lady sits still at his side, where she still urges him to take pity on his children. That was really pretty, actually. That was really beautiful. The Conclave, the First Inquisition, the Maker. So the Maker's like our God. Let's read the Conclave. It has been actually, we can read the rest of these later. What I'm actually going to do is, sadly, 15 minutes is already up, you guys. I hate to say it, but my name has been Jacob. I hope you liked the video. Leave a like or a dislike if you want me to do another one of these. If not, I'll just stop doing them. Or what next section you want me to do. I don't really care. Leave a comment. Tell me what you think. Have a great day. Have a great week. Have a great and wonderful weekend, if whatever applies to you. Just be great. Thank you so much. Have a great and wonderful day. Bye-bye.